From LALATE News Headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings LALATE.
It's a big morning of Mornings LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022, as not one, not two, but three checks have landed. We'll go over those big checks today. A $6,500 check, a $15,000 to $80,000 fourth stimulus check, and a third stimulus MSC check. It's huge. We'll go all those incredible checks in today's recording. Get your pen and paper ready. But first, we're going to start with the incredible details of the Build Back Better Act. Huge breaking details across the land as the President of the United States signals it's going to get done. And I think it will get done because the economic data that came in the last 24 hours, not good. Well, that new economic data and what it means for you. Then we'll be looking at the situation unfolding for that SS300. We're trying to reduce inflation. But will that inflation be reduced too quickly before your benefits lock in that 8% where we are today? Well, the latest details on that across the board. We'll be looking at student loan debt forgiveness heating up 7 stimulus. We'll be looking at 6 stimulus, which is caused by Putin. The latest stimulus package with that oil, wheat, grain, soybean issue at hand. Then we'll be looking at what's happening with this stimulus, and of course, back to that 7th stimulus, the student loan debt forgiveness. But the huge details coming up later in this video. Get ready for the later part of this morning's broadcast. With no less than 1, 2, 3 checks now landing, it's 4th stimulus, and the checks are law. They're landing in people's hands. I'll go over the latest details on how you get these big checks and how you get them right today. We'll have also the latest details of what's going on with this economy. Are we in a recession or are we heading to a recession? What it means for your money and what it means for your financial independence going forward. From the shores of Santa Monica, California today, it's a brand new live broadcast. It's Mornings LA. I'm excited to be with you, and I'm excited to go over all these incredible details. If you haven't become a member, and also get ready for a preview of tonight's Evenings LA in prime time. It's a huge show tonight, folks. You cannot miss it. The toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, the coffee is brewing. It's Mornings LA, and everything is here except my bacon. For Mr. Stimulus bacon? No, we need executive order for bacon right today. It's Mornings, and it starts right now. And good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day here along the coast of Santa Monica, California. I hope you're having a beautiful day as well. It's a beautiful day for April 2nd, 2022. And we got a lot of money at issue. Are you ready? Get ready with your pen and paper because we got 3 checks, 3 different checks. A $6,500, a $15,000 to $80,000, and an MSC check of about $24,000. They're coming up later in this video. Don't ask the questions yet because I haven't answered the answers yet. It's coming up later in this video how to get these incredible checks, but first become a member. The links under the video's chatter at the top of the video so you get ready for those big checks. But first we're going to start with something else. We're going to start with the Build Back Better bill. And we have new economic data that signals why it's going to get done. And that data involves the collapse of the mortgage industry as well. We have recessionary data. We have inflationary data of all that coming up in a second. But first, let's go over the actual checks in the Build Back Better Act so you understand what's at issue and where we are. The Build Back Better Act bill is a bill. It's not a law yet. It's still in the Senate. And it pays about $15,000 to $80,000 across 3 clusters and 3 add-on checks. So let's look at that first cluster. Hazard pay, essential workers, 1 more year earned income tax credit, $3,600. CTC, 1 more year for the children. They also got in there $4,000 of elder care, $4,000 of care for young children, $550 check for the college students, the Pell Grant, and also the $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle. That is the first of 3 clusters of the Build Back Better bill we're going over so far. That is not a law yet. The first add-on is $25,000 for the purchase of your first home. How do you get this? Tune in tonight for Evenings LA. We'll go over these checks more in detail then. Then as we turn to the second cluster of checks in the Build Back Better bill, not law yet, is paid leave. A lot of money if you have to stay home due to sickness or illness. And then home repairs. Okay, hold up right there. Home repairs, cluster 2. Yeah, this is where it gets fascinating. Home repairs was to be in the Build Back Better bill at cluster number 2. But Joe Biden, less than 24 hours ago, said, you know what? I'm taking it out, and I'm doing it by executive action. And now it's law, folks. It's coming up later in this video, and it's this check. It's law. And it became law, number A, on March 31st. Fascinating. And the second one, B, was also enforced stimulus bill. It was taken out by Joe Biden. It is now law by executive action. So let's go back into that Build Back Better Act, which is where we left off at. Second cluster, yeah, paid leave is in there still. Let's go to that third add-on. It checks $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and disabilities. Let's go to that third cluster, the Build Back Better bill. And there is free internet for all checks, farmers checks, independent contractors checks, and then seniors checks, lots of checks for you. Dental, vision, hearing checks, lowering the eligibility age of Medicare from 65 to 55, and the Medicaid gap fix, which is par for the course when we're talking about adding checks to the Build Back Better bill, not a law. The other check that they vowed they would add in there, of course, is forced stimulus, Build Back Better, MSC. An IRS monthly stimulus check that would come to you via IRS. This is the Build Back Better bill we're going over so far in this recording. This is not a law yet. And who would get this? Single individual, $75,000, you would get it. Married couple, $150,000 or less, you get it, double it. Family of 4, quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, you get as well. This is forced stimulus we're going over so far. And this would have 6 months of checks, so says the representatives of the viewership, so says the representatives of Congress to the viewership of this channel. How much? First month, $2,000, and $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months. That, my friends, is the Build Back Better bill. Not law yet. It is a bill, and it's currently sitting in the Congress. Now, let's get a preview of what's coming up later in this video. What's coming up later in this video is that while fourth stimulus bill is not law, Joe Biden has sat back in the last few days and said, I'm going to take this out of the bill, I'm going to take that out of the bill, and I'll make it a law. And he has made it law. So we've had now not one, but 2 fourth stimulus checks that are law because of executive action by Joe Biden. And the checks have gone out and the checks have landed. Those are 2 of the 3 checks coming up later in this video. I'm going to go over each of them later in this video. So don't ask, how do they work? How do I get it? It's not coming up just yet. We're going to come to them later in this video. Collectively, we have 3 checks that are now paying out, and they're all coming up later. Stay with me. Get your pen and paper ready. Let's just get a preview of those 3 checks. They are, first, that $6,500 check we just saw a preview of became a law on March 31st, the $15,000 to $80,000 check that became a law on March 4th, and those MSC checks that became a law last year. They're coming up later in this video. Stay with me. I'm going to explain to you how you get those checks later in this video. Now, let's turn to the other fronts that are heating up right today. The first one is that latest developing details on SS300. Jay Powell, his job is to reduce inflation. And Joe Biden's job is to solve your benefits. It's a contrast and a convex. Let's go over the details of it starting right now. Joe Biden promised to swap your COLA for inflation that would lock in more benefits per year. How does this work? COLA is your current benchmark. Inflation would be the proposed benchmark. Joe Biden said this at joebiden.com, his presidential platform. By swapping COLA for inflation, this is what happens. Your benefits go up a lot. $200 more per month if it was done right today, because inflation is tracking its highest price point of a generation, 8%. There you go. That is why you want to swap that COLA for inflation right today. Now, it's not going to stay at 8% indefinitely. It was 8% in December. It was 8% in January. Where's it right now? The bond traders are trading it up. They're trading up interest rates, so they may signal that inflation is actually higher. I believe it's actually higher. But there's a guy that's trying to reduce it. And who's that guy? It's this guy, Jay Powell. His job is to reduce inflation. By reducing inflation, that reducing of inflation is important, but needs to be done after Joe makes that swap. Here's the analysis. 8% is where inflation is tracking right now. You want Joe to make that swap for COLA to inflation right now when inflation's higher, because you'd lock in $200 more per month, this year, the lifetime. If you wait, inflation's coming down, and that wouldn't be $200 more per month. It would be $175 or $150 or $125. Let's do the analysis right now. Jay Powell, his job is to reduce inflation. And Jay Powell gave us guidance 30 days, a week ago, and then different guidance just a few days ago. What did Jay Powell say in the month of February? He said in the month of March he would raise interest rates a quarter basis point at the March FOMC meeting to reduce inflation. He did. But then a week later, this last week, he said, you know what? I think that maybe we need to come in more aggressively thereafter. Maybe. That would be a half basis point starting in the April FOMC meeting. Well, what's the latest data today? The latest data today is that Wall Street analysts and myself are both agreeing that Jay Powell is going to make a major change. He is not going to do a half basis. He's not going to do a quarter basis point anymore. He's going to come in more aggressively with a half basis point, folks, at not just the first FOMC meeting after this recording, the next two. Oh boy, yeah. I'm predicting that Jay Powell is going to do 2 half basis point interest rate spikes in the next 2 FOMC meetings. This would reduce inflation very dramatically. That's why Joe Biden needs to make that swap for cola to inflation right today, when inflation is tracking hot. If Joe waits too long, then Jay Powell may be reducing those interest rates dramatically by that date. Now, what else did Jay Powell say in the last 2 weeks? Jay Powell had initially said last month that he's trying to get inflation later this year to 4%. That would be another $100 at the end of the year, because your benefits is reassessed at the end of the year. Your benefits get reassessed in December. But then this last week, Jay Powell said, I'm going to get it down to 1.9%. That's not a lot of That's not $100. That's like $10. That's $20. So you want Joe Biden to make that swap for cola inflation right today, because we don't know what Jay Powell can or can't do by the end of the year. Now let's go over what's happening on 2 fronts. We have a series of economic data that was released in the last few hours, and then we have economic data that was released the day before that and throughout this last week. And the economic data collectively, in my opinion, is bad, meaning it is weaker economic data. Let me give you a name. When I say miss, it means the data did not reach the prediction. If it's a beat, it means it came in stronger than the prediction. Let me give you an example. Let's say they're looking for number 10. It came in at 9. It's a miss. It didn't reach 10. Let's say it came in at 12. It's a beat. It came in stronger than the projection of 10. So the economic data this last week was miss. It was weak. It was weaker than predicted. What does that mean for Build Back Better Act? It means that when you have economic data that's weaker, more reason to pass a stimulus package. We learned that since day one of this channel. When the data is too strong, then there's less support to do a stimulus package because the economy looks too good. Well, the data was really weak this week, weak this week and a week last week. And that is also good for SS300. Why? If the data for the economy shows the economy is actually weaker than predicted, then Jay Powell may not come in as aggressively, and you may lock in that SS300. Let's go over the economic data that came in the last 24 hours and then came in shortly before that. The economic data on Friday, very weak. The economy added 431,000 jobs in the month of March, but that was a miss. Why? Because they're expecting 490,000 jobs. So miss. That's the first miss. Number 2, the unemployment number, a miss, because they were looking for unemployment to get substantially low. It didn't come in that low. It came in at 3.6%. That was a miss. It came in weaker. That was the Friday's numbers. What about the day before? The day before, we also had a miss. The new unemployment claims came in at 220,000 approximately. That was more weaker than expected. More people asking for unemployment assistance. What happened the day before that? The mortgage industry, a miss. The mortgage refis plummeted 60%. Less people got mortgage refis, less, a substantial less, 60% less. And that was the low, that is as the mortgage rates went to the highest level since 2018. That is a weaker number. Then the housing starts, a miss again. Housing was down not just this month, for the 4th month in a row, as new home starts continue to miss again. There we go. Data keeps on coming in, miss after miss. And then we have the auto sales, big miss. So housing miss, auto sales miss, unemployment miss. Job creation miss. Anything else a miss in the last 48 hours of economic data? Yeah. The GDP. We're looking at about 7.1% growth of the U.S. economy. Came in 6.9%. Miss. Anything beat? No, nothing was a beat this week. Everything was a miss. So this is good news for Build Back Better. We also have the good news on that front. As Joe Manchin said less than 7 days ago, he wants to get it done. He sent in the latest comments confirmed by his communications director, Runyon. He wants to get this done. All good for Build Back Better. Is it also good for SS300? It is, because if the data is a miss, then you don't want J-Pow to come in too aggressively. Wow. There you go. Now, in the second half of this video, we got a lot coming up. We're going to go over 7 stimulus. The President of the United States has determined that May 2nd will be your day to determine whether to forgive student loan debt. That is 7 stimulus. What's happening on May 2nd? We'll go over the latest on that front. Then we'll be looking at the latest on that 6th stimulus. This is where it gets very dicey. The President of the United States announcing an oil policy no less than 24 hours ago. But why is he announcing it when he had a reported deal for oil in Iran with 6 stimulus? I'll have the latest analysis in the second half of this video. It's a huge analysis you don't want to miss. But you know what's coming up in the second half of this video? Not 1, not 2, but 3 checks have landed. Checks for all of you. Whether you're a renter or a homeowner, whether you're on benefits or not on benefits, whether you're on the East Coast or the West Coast, they have landed, and they are law, folks. Here's a preview of the checks coming up in the second half of this video. This is where you get your pen and paper ready to take notes. In the second half of this video, we're going to go over first a $6,500 forced stimulus check that has landed. It is the Weatherizing Grant check. I'm going to go over how to get it, what is the eligibility, and what you need to know. Get you ready with your notes. I'm going to explain it in the second half of this video. Then I'm going to explain the other check that's landed, the $15,000 to $80,000 forced stimulus check. This is the homeowner's grant check. It's landed, and I'm going to show you how to get it. Average viewer is getting on the high end, $65,000 to $80,000. Get ready with your notes. I'm going to explain to you how to get it. And then the third check is for all of you. It's for renters, and it's also for homeowners. And it is paying out a lot. It is an MSC check, and it is law, and it's tracking anywhere from $24,000 to $45,000. I'm going to show you how to get these big checks that are coming up in the second half of this video. But first, before the commercial break, become a member. The membership newsletter comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alerts. You want to become a member to learn about how to get all these 3 checks and more. They're all coming up in the second half of this video from the shores of Santa Monica, California. We're just getting started. As the toast is toasted, the butter is buttering. But first, here's a little bit about the members community page. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as a Big Mornings LA continues live on air.
If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the excitement continues in a big second half. Mornings LA live on air from Santa Monica, California. We're going to go over all those incredible big checks that have now landed. A $6,500 check, a $15,000 to $80,000 check, and a $24,000 check. It's huge. It's coming up right now. Also in the second half, we're going to go over the latest details on that sixth stimulus package, the big one, the largest stimulus package of a generation. For oil, wheat, grain, we need those oil prices down. What's the president doing? What he's not doing? It's coming up in the second half of this video. Then we'll be looking at student loan debt forgiveness, and that's seventh stimulus, and a little bit about that fifth stimulus as well. It's a big second half. We're just getting started, and also have the analysis of whether we're heading to recession or we are in recession. Those details and more as we go into big second half, and away we go. The great news as we start the big second half is the president was looking on in recent weeks and said, you know what, that Build Back Better bill is sitting in the Congress. Let me take some of the stuff out of there and make it a law. And he can. The president of the United States has executive action authority to make certain things law. And now he has made them law. Not one, not two, but three big checks. And I'm going to show you each of them right now. Get your pen and paper ready. Here come the checks. Let's go over the details right now. And it starts with the overview of the three checks. What's important to understand is that these checks are for all of you. Between the three of them, I got a check for at least every single viewer of this channel. Let's look at the overview of the checks before we go into each of them one at a time. There's a $6,500 check that became a law on March 31st. There is a $15,000 to $80,000 check that became a law on March 4th. And then there is an MSC check that's paying on average about $24,000 that became a law last year. Okay, how do you get them? And what are they? Let's go over A, B, and C one at a time. First, A. The first check is a $6,500 check. It is a fourth stimulus check and is the homeowners weatherizing grant that became a law on March 31st, 2022. All right, first let's go over the amount. How much is the amount? While the amount shown on screen is $6,500, some states have elected to pay out actually more, upwards of $12,000. Is this law? Yes. Is this fourth stimulus? Yes, it is law. And what's the actual name? Well, for purposes of the video, it's called the Owner's Grant, but you can see it in the membership newsletter as the Weatherizing the Grant. This is for homeowners to weatherize your grant. What is the income qualification? It's the same as a stimulus check. Single individual, $75,000 or less, you can get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you can get it. If you're a senior on SSI or senior or Social Security, or a veteran on VA benefits and you own a home, you can get it. Yes, this is for homeowners. Now, a couple questions I often get. What type of home? Just apply. Don't worry whether you're a mobile home or a single family residence. Then, what type of weatherizing? Just apply. Weatherizing may be defined differently depending on the state. Weatherizing is generally like wind, hurricane, rain, tornado, fire, those type of things you want to do to your home, like wind shutters or rain gutters. But it can also be things like tornado-resistant roofs. It just depends where you are. There you go. $6,500 checks, now law. Became law less than 48 hours ago, so you win a pounce. Is this a program that's likely to run out of the checks? It doesn't look like that, so that's what's good across the board. Then, now that you know how much it is, now that you know it's law, now that you know what it is, how do you get it? The way you get it is you become a member. And in that membership newsletter, it will feature in there shortly, right after at the top, a new entry as of March 31st that says the Weatherizing Grant. It will then send you into the national website run by the federal government. At that point, you put in your state, like Alabama, and you'll get the result, Alabama Weatherizing Grant Program. Mississippi Weatherizing Grant Program. One viewer last night even said, thank you, I've done it. It was very easy. I got in and I got applied. Very, very simple. Again, in the membership newsletter, it's going to give you the link to go right into the federal website, which then you choose your state. You have to actually type in your state or select your state. And then you go into your state, you look for the Weatherizing Grant, and then you click that and apply. It's all online. You can do it also with your phone. It's incredible. And that is the first check, that is law, and that viewers have learned about since March 31st. What's important to understand is that this became law on March 31st, and it was covered nowhere. It was announced by the President of the United States during a press briefing about oil. And they said, by the way, I also have a $6,500. This actually is actual words. A $6,500 weatherizing grant, which I'm announcing right today. Then Brian Deasy, his economic council member, announced it later that day as well. That's how I pounced. I immediately featured the members of the newsletter that night. It has been featured in the members of the newsletter ever since. You don't want to wait as well. That is the first check. That is A. $6,500 went live March 31st. Let's look at B's check. This has now been live for 5 weeks, so this will run out of money. So you don't want to wait on this one either. This pays out more money. It looks a little bit similar, but it is different. How much does this pay out? A lot more. $15,000 to $80,000. Okay, get ready to take notes on this one. This is B. Here we go. B. It is a $15,000 to $80,000 check, number one. It is a forced stimulus check, number two. It is paid out. It is law. It is coming. Viewers have gotten it. Number three. What is this one called? For purposes of this video, it is called the homeowner's grant check. What is the income qualification? The same as the last one. Single individual, $75,000 less, you can get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you can get it. If you're on benefits, yes. If you're on Social Security or a veteran and you own a home, yes. This is, again, another homeowner's grant. If you're a renter, stay with me because that's C coming up in just a second. This is, again, another homeowner's grant. So how do you get this one? You click the membership link. You open the membership for newsletter. And in the membership newsletter, it's the second item, and it lists the homeowner's grant. This one has the ability to get more money because it's $15,000 to $80,000, but to get paid for more subject matters. This check is to do things like home repairs in general. So this is not just weatherizing. This is why it's a larger check. And the items that it also pays for are also featured in the newsletter. So on this one, you're going to click the link in the newsletter. It's going to send you to a national website, a different national website. And then you're going to look at a map. You're going to click your state like Tennessee, and then it goes right to the Tennessee website. You click and you apply. Done. This one is a little bit easier, faster than the last one, but almost the same sort of process. National website, state, then you're ready to rock and roll. There you go. 2 checks, 2 in your hands. You can get them both. The third one, here we rock and roll. The third one is for renters, you, and also homeowners. And yes, homeowners, you can get A, B, and C. Renters, here's yours, C. We're going to go over all the details of it right now. I got a check for everyone on this channel. Let's go to C right now. And there you go. C is an MSC check. And it is a monthly stimulus check that became a law in the third stimulus package, which was passed in early 2021. The check pays out about $2,000 for 12 months, which is about $24,000. But many viewers have gotten more than that. Many viewers have gotten $45,000. So let's look at C and get ready to take some notes. Here is C. It is a $24,000 check, and it pays out about $2,000 a month for 12 months. But many viewers have gotten upwards of $45,000. It is law, became law in January last year. Is it running out? It will run out, but it looks like it has a long endurance life, so don't worry about that at the moment. And is it an MSC? It is an MSC. So now on this check, it's a little bit different. On C, you're not going to a website. On C, you're making phone calls. On C, you're making phone calls to get the money. And where do you call to get the money? Let's go over the details of that starting right now. You're going to reach out to 6 places to start and then more thereafter. Where do you reach out to? You reach out to your city hall, your city housing authority, your county hall, and your county housing authority. Those are the first 6 places you reach out to. And then you're going to say certain key words. You're going to say rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage utility, or utility assistance because of COVID. Notice you say those exact words. You don't say, where's my MSC? You don't say my monthly stimulus check. You say these exact words. It is for renters, for your rent. It is for utility assistance, and it's for homeowners, like mortgage assistance. Now, you must reach out to all 6 places. You must put multiple applications in the file. And you must do as long as you can do this. Now, what's important to understand when you're looking at the situation is that you're going to have about a 50% rejection rate. Don't worry if you get a no, because that's how it works. You will get a no. For every no, there'll be a yes. So let's say you have one no. The next phone call you may have is a yes. And that's why you want to make at least those 6 phone calls. Now, if you're a member, you in the membership newsletter have access to the nonprofits, and that is additional half a dozen more places to reach out to. So with the nonprofits included in there, you're going to have about a dozen and a half places to reach out to. And those places, once they approve the money for you, you get funded, you'll get a check every month on the average, every month thereafter. That's why you want to pounce and get these big checks that are available across the board. Let's continue with how to get these. Become a member today, because when you become a member, you learn about more, and that more is, of course, those nonprofits. Those nonprofits give you more places to get money, and that brings you not less 6 places to reach out to, but about a dozen and a half places to reach out to. And again, the average view of the channel has gotten about $45,000. And they're getting now lately about $2,000 a month for 12 months of MSC checks. Get those right across the land. Do it today. Do not wait. Get those big checks. Do not wait across the land. And that, my friends, are the 3 checks that are now landing. That's why you want to get them right away. You don't want to wait. 3 checks that are landing. A, the $6,500 check. B, the $15,000 to $80,000 check. And C, the MSC from third stimulus. Get them right today. Now, there's a lot of other breaking news developing across the board, and let's go over that right now. The first one I want to go over is that student loan debt forgiveness. Fascinating twist and turn. The President of the United States said that he's going to forgive or to make a determination on forgiveness by May 2nd. Let me tell you what's going on. This is 7th stimulus. Your repayment of mortgage debt as a student has been frozen, does not have to be paid back since the start of the pandemic. The date ends May 2nd, 2022. So President's Chief of Staff, Ron Klain, says the President will make a determination by May 2nd, because he understands that as of May 2nd, you have to start paying back your student loan debts. 3 opportunities the President has, confirmed by Ron Klain. Number 1, do nothing, and you have to start paying back debts May 2nd. Number 2, continue the freezing of the student loan debts more time, and the President sort of thinks a little bit longer about the student loan debt forgiveness issue. And number 3, the President makes a determination on student loan debt, just forgives it by May 2nd, and we go on thereafter. I think it's going to be either 2 or 3. I think the President's either not going to address the issue, but is going to give himself a little more time to think about it, and you won't have to repay any debts, or he's going to simply just forgive the debt. The breaking developing details on this front is that the education secretary under Obama-Biden has now spoken out and said, Biden knows this. He knows that he has executive authority under the executive branch to forgive student loan debt because we put it in the Obama administration. He knows he can forgive it. And if he does it, guess what? He doesn't have any worries because there is not enough Republican votes in the Senate to unravel it. There's not enough Republican senators to undo a forgiveness of student loan debt. Joe Biden should just go do it. Wow. That is 7 stimulus. Now, 6 stimulus. Fascinating across the board. 6 stimulus was to prevent recession. It is different than first stimulus. First stimulus was for COVID. Second stimulus for COVID. Third stimulus coming out of COVID. Fourth stimulus coming out of COVID. Fifth stimulus for seniors. 7 stimulus for student loan debt forgiveness. But 6 stimulus, that is because of Putin. It's not stimulus for Putin. It's Putin-caused stimulus. What's at issue? Putin has caused a lot of economic disruption, and that economic disruption needs to be solved. The economic disruption involves the commodity industry, the oil industry, and also the banking industry. So, what happened this week, and what's my takeaway on the situation? The President of the United States, when announcing that homeowners grant, was addressing the American people about oil. He said, we're releasing some oil. Good. Why are you releasing oil? Didn't you have an Iranian oil deal? You didn't hear it, did you? The president of the White House addressed the American people saying he's releasing some oil. It's releasing some of the oil from the U.S. strategic reserves to bring down the price of gasoline. My immediate reaction was, what happened to the Iranian U.S. oil deal? And guess what? It was not an easy answer to find. I had to actually research it, and that's why you tuned to this channel. Let's take this a step back. day one of the Vladimir Putin invasion of Ukraine, Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State under Joe Biden, reached out to the Western allies saying, get off of Russian products. Germany, get off of it. Italy, get off of it. France, get off it. Initially, Germany said, no, we can't. Now, let's explain something that I've not explained before on this channel. Germany does not do our type of economic policy. They do it totally different. So when you tell Germany to do something, they just say, no, I'm not doing it the way you do it. That's how they always operate. Blinken went back to them a week or two later saying, you morally must get off of the Russian products. And they said, you know what, you're right. I'll morally get off the Russian products, Germany, France, and we'll debt spend, we'll give stimulus to our citizens because they cannot afford this price of gasoline. And that was the agreement until this week, where Germany said, no, we're going to stay on those Russian products. Excuse me? We're going to stay on the Russian products? The White House did not address those German comments. I was shocked when I saw them. So does that mean the sixth stimulus package is not happening? No. It may mean that the White House is doing it without Germany and France. Let me go over what happened. Well, first, that Iranian oil deal. Do we have a deal or do we not have a deal? A week and a half ago, I told you we had a deal because the White House, Germany, France said we had a deal. The deal was being negotiated by Germany and France on behalf of the United States in Vienna, called the JCPOA, with Iran to remove their nuclear warheads in exchange for the reduction or the removal of the Iranian embargo of their oil. It's a great deal. How good of a deal would it be? It would bring the price of gasoline to its lowest price level of generation by flooding world markets with 1.5 million barrels of gasoline by the end of the year, and 500,000 immediately right out the door this month. It dropped gasoline to its lowest price levels of a generation. We had a deal, didn't we? Well, when the president addressed the American people, he's releasing gasoline. I thought to myself, what happened to the Iranian deal? I had to look. And trust me, it was not easy to find the answer. I found it, and here you have it for the first time on Mornings LA. The answer came from one of the people close to negotiations, buried in a news article. He said that we thought we had a deal, but we're not at the finish line. The comment comes from a man close to the negotiations, and his name is Joseph Borrell. He's the EU foreign policy member. And he said the JCPOA, it's not getting to an end. It would be a shame not to reach a similar agreement. We are so close. I can not guarantee we can reach an agreement. Translation, close, no deal. So with no deal on that front, what did Joe Biden do this week? He announced he's releasing 1 million barrels a day through the month of August of the U.S. strategic reserves. Does that solve the situation? Number one, no. Is sixth stimulus still going to happen? I think it will on a U.S. front. With or without Germany or France, I don't know if they're on board or not, because Germany's saying it's still going to buy Russian products this week was a complete reversal. But I think the United States will still do it. What was that announcement by the president? We're releasing 1 million barrels of gasoline in the United States. And he says it's going to solve the world price of gasoline through the roof. My takeaway? Absolutely will not solve it. Here's the way that commodities work. If there's a shortage of them internationally, not just in your country, the price goes up. If you release them just in your country, you don't solve the shortage internationally. You have to release enough internationally to solve the shortage internationally. And until you do that, the price internationally does not come down. Where the president say, I'm going to release 1 million barrels domestically. Good. It doesn't bring down the price of gasoline internationally, which is why our price of gasoline at the pump is high. Our price of gasoline at the pump is caused by the international price. What did he also say? He said that he's going to get his Western allies to release some of their strategic reserves. Hogwash. It doesn't work. Why? Your strategic allies don't have gasoline to release. Who taught Brian D.C. this? Italy, does it have strategic reserves? No. Does Italy have oil wells at all? It doesn't. There are no oil wells in Italy. How about England? How about France? How about Germany? Do they have enough strategic reserves to release? Germany has no strategic reserves to release. It buys nearly 70% of its oil from Vladimir Putin. That's why it has no oil in its ground. There's no oil wells in Berlin. So this comment from the White House was very peculiar, to say the least. Needless to say, the releasing 1 million barrels in gasoline Even the presentation of the situation in the White House would have brought down the price dramatically, would it not? It did not. The international price of gasoline after that press conference, March 31st, did not bring down the price of gasoline anything dramatically whatsoever. So there you go. That is why 6 stimulus is needed. Number 2, the wheat and grain problem. It's getting worse by the day. Here is the wheat and grain problem that 6 stimulus is for. There's a shortage of wheat because the wheat of Ukraine and Russia is not available. Farmers can increase wheat domestically here, but that is not the solution because remember, we have an international shortage of wheat. So what's happening? The wheat prices are surging to record highs, 10-year highs. And the farmers in the United States, they're selling their wheat for more money. You're going to buy a loaf of bread. You can't afford $6 a loaf of bread. You can't afford $7 a loaf of bread. You can't afford a $5 box of breakfast cereal. That's where we're heading. That's recessionary environment. That's where we're heading. So the farmers, guess what? They're going to start increasing their price even more. Yes, U.S. farmers are actually going to ask higher wheat prices. Why? Because they're driving that tractor trailer that runs on oil. They're not making a profit because the oil's gone up. The manure comes from the biggest manure shoveler in the world, Vladimir Putin. Not joking. He is the biggest. And he sells that manure in massive quantities. Has gone up. So now the price, the cost for farmers going up. They're going to charge more for the products in the United States going up. Recession. That's why 6 stimulus is needed. Which brings me to the last part of today's analysis, which is, are we going to recession or are we in a recession? My analysis today is that we are already in a recession. Recession is defined sometimes geographically. It's sometimes defined by industries. But at the time of today's recording, I believe that the housing industry is in recession. I believe that the auto industry is in recession. And I believe that the other industries are going to recession. Why? Housing industry is upside down at the moment. 4 months of declining sales in the housing industry. The mortgage rates at the highest level since 2018, approximately, getting higher by the day, 5%. No one can afford a house at 5%. The mortgage industry is also upside down because people bought into the mortgage industry in sort of a bubble environment, thinking I buy in during the pandemic and it's an easy bet and it's going to keep on going up. It costs too much money to repair the home because the supply chain is at issue, lumber and supplies going up, the cost going up. It costs too much money to build a home because the supplies are going up. It costs too much money to own a home because the mortgages are going up. And you may not get that price back when you sell the home because, yeah, the home sales are down 4 consecutive months. That's a bubble about to burst. It's a recession. Number 2, auto. Everyone bought a car in 2021. Let's just all buy a car and drive around during the pandemic so we can't breathe on each other. Now in 2022, auto sales are dramatically down. Consumer savings down. Consumer sentiments down. Consumer confidence down. No one's buying cars. No one's buying cars. That industry is already likely in recession. Lastly, what about geographically? If you're around in that recession in the 1990s, certain parts of the economy, certain parts of the United States went into recession before. The East Coast went into recession first, and it was literally a half a year later, 6 months, until the West Coast went into the housing industry. It went into the recession. In that recession, we saw the housing and the rental market in New York go into recession horrifically, while the West Coast looked totally fine. And then 6 months later, the housing industry and everything else on the West Coast went into recession. So in my opinion, we are in a recession. Finally, a last part of the analysis. A lot of analysts, and I agree with them, in the last 24 hours have now said the following when they look at the situation. Jay Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, has 2 choices. Number 1, fix inflation, or number 2, have a recession. And he is choosing the recession. Their analysis is that if you reduce the inflationary rates in this type of economic environment, you're giving yourself a recession. The alternative is you leave inflation alone and keep it where it is, and we don't go into recession. I agree with the caveat that I think we already are in a recession. I think that Jay Powell is going to come in too aggressively on the interest rates. He's going to do a half basis point over the next 2 meetings. We're going to have stagflation. We're going to have shunting of economic growth. We're going to have a labor short. We're going to have unemployment surge. We're not going to have a labor shortage. We're going to have unemployment surge. Employers are not going to hire. You're going to have hiring freezes because they're going to be making less money. And then we slowly, or more dramatically, drift into recession. That is why this channel is around. My job is to show you every check you can get now, to tell you what is on the horizon. On the horizon, fifth stimulus. The big money for that reform for Social Security. That is coming up next. Seventh stimulus, student loan debt forgiveness, May 2nd. The Build Back Better, likely April or May. The SS 300, maybe in the next 30 days. But the checks available right today, you want to get, because you want to get every check you can get, especially if you're going into a recession. Those checks you can get right today, let's recap, are the $6,500 check, the $15,000 to $80,000 check, and the $24,000 MSE plus checks. All law, all paying out. Get those checks today. How do you get them? Become a member. Go to the top of the chat right now, or under the description of this video, or at the front of this page. Become a member. When you become a member, also don't forget to subscribe, and also hit that bell at the front of the channel and put it to all alerts. Not personalized, but all alerts, so you get those alerts. The membership newsletter featuring all these incredible checks delivered Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alerts. Not waivable check, not waivable bacon, not waivable lobster. It's delivered Monday through Friday. And with that, thank you for staying with me. Join me next on a home edition at 11 a.m. In that home edition, we'll go over routing times. People want to know when these checks land, and that's featured in that recording. Then we got a brand new Afternoons LA at 3 o'clock and a brand new Evenings LA at 5 o'clock. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful day. Stay here and stay with LA for more. And I'll see you tonight as well on that big 1 hour special broadcast in prime time of Evenings LA at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.